Let's get to Dan Shaker, one of our favorite market watchers here, who says the longer this whole thing plays out and drags out and everything else, the more likely, Dan, we see a crash. Now, I want to be careful coming to you with the word crash. Are you predicting that the stock market will absolutely just fall apart? Because we won't scare people half to death, though, if they've had bad enough worries here the last few days. What's going to happen?
Well, Connell, the word crash is dangerous, of course. I'm not looking for an immediate crash where the market just tanks. What I'm looking for is the uncertainty to increase so that the market starts to decline and it will start to move lower. Now, I predict that in the next 3 months there will be another EU country that will begin their exit process. Okay. The problem with the next one will be that they use the euro, not the British pound. So right now, this is an experimental stage of decoupling and separating the euro, of which I think is going to happen, and all these countries are going to start to go back to their own economics, their own rulings, and using their own currencies. So we're in the beginning stages, early stages, and what I see is that the bureaucrats or the people in power are trying to retain their power, and the people don't. Now let's get back to the stock market. The stock market just took a major dive off of the British pound being devalued, or the market devaluing it dramatically, which I think was a little ridiculous. The problem that I see with the stock market is that going forward, we're going to have continued uncertainty. Stock market doesn't like that because corporations can't really understand how that's going to affect their balance sheets and income statements. Therefore, there's a big difference between where the stock market is now and where some of the levels of treasuries and currencies are trading. Something's got to give. My prediction is, with all the uncertainty and people getting behind, being against the Federal Reserve, the central banks, I think that the stock market, the power that's been holding up the stock market will begin to let go. And as that lets go, we're going to see the stock market deflate itself.
But the trigger for this, Dan, would be, hypothetically, obviously, but the trigger for this would be another country, like some people said yesterday. I think actually we were talking about it and mentioned the Netherlands. The other countries have been mentioned, but another country would be the trigger for this or would be something, could it happen or will it happen without another country leaving the European Union?
Well, it still could happen based on the uprising against central banks and what's going on with the monetary system. But I do believe that the next country that says we're out is going to be the final straw that should take these markets. And that's because of currencies, to be clear. I mean, what would be the big difference in terms of managing this if the currency, if the UK was using the European currency, the euro, why would this be much, much worse? Because the corporations that are doing business in Europe, and there's a lot of overseas business being done by United States corporations, will start to see uncertainty in Europe itself, which will probably go into a major depression. Money will stop flowing, people will stop spending, the same cycle, but in a deeper sense, and the central banks will be left with, we have nothing else to do. And what's triggering me right now is the way the banks are trading and what the banks are saying these days with their liquidity issues. So if we start to find that happening, and again, one EU country says, you know what, we're considering leaving, then that decouples the power of the euro currency. And remember, Connell, the euro currency was the Deutschmark to begin with.
Dan, thank you very much, sir. It's good to have you. We, of course, do hope you're dead wrong. So with that, just because anybody talking about depressions and crashes, thank you for sharing your point of view, though, to be serious.